To the untrained eye, a day-old chick is just a fluff ball, but a professional chicken sexer can cradle that bird, glance at its vent for a fraction of a second, and immediately toss it down the correct chute for male or female. In a training simulation, a veteran SWAT officer spots a man walking up to a school and instantly draws a weapon, recognizing a hidden threat before rookie recruits even register a problem. At the U.S. Memory Championship, competitors stare at a shuffled deck of playing cards and commit the exact order of all 52 cards to memory in less than a minute. We tend to label these feats as a sixth sense or an innate gift like a photographic memory. We assume these experts are operating with superior biological hardware, that their brains are simply built to see things we cannot. In reality, every human brain operates under a strict physiological constraint. In 1956, Harvard psychologist George Miller identified a severe bottleneck in how we process the present moment, a system known as working memory. Miller discovered what he called the magical number 7. When new information enters our consciousness, our working memory can only hold about 7 items at a time. If an 8th item enters the buffer, an older piece of information is immediately dropped. This physical limit applies to everyone. When neuroscientists put world-class memory champions into MRI scanners, they found 0 structural advantages. Their brains were completely indistinguishable from the average person's. Since experts share the exact same limited hardware as novices, the superpower of expertise comes down to a cognitive software hack. Instead of trying to force more data through the narrow funnel of working memory, experts bypass the bottleneck entirely by drawing on their long-term memory. Look at this sequence of 12 digits. If you try to hold 1207410911101 in your head all at once, you will quickly overflow that 7-slot limit and forget the sequence. But if you group those exact same digits into recognized historical dates, December 7, 1941 and September 11, 2001, the data compresses. You've turned 12 separate items into just 2 blocks, perfectly fitting into the available slots. Psychologists call this chunking, but it only works if you already have the dates of Pearl Harbor and 9/11 stored away. The incoming data has to match a pattern you already know. Expertise functions by filtering the chaotic noise of the present moment through a massive, structured database of the past. We can see this mechanic clearly in a series of cognitive studies conducted by Dutch psychologist Adriaan de Groot, who set out to figure out how chess grandmasters make their moves. He assumed the world's best players were calculating dozens of potential moves and looking further into the future than amateurs. The test results proved they weren't doing either of those things. Grandmasters look at a board and recognize familiar configurations of pieces based on thousands of hours of studying old games. They don't see 32 individual pieces. They see a few large chunks of tension and strategy. That veteran chicken sexer is using the exact same mechanism. They aren't consciously analyzing the anatomy of a newborn bird. They are referencing a mental catalog of 250,000 previously seen chicks to spot an invisible pattern in a fraction of a second. Experts do not passively receive raw data. They actively interpret the present entirely through the vocabulary of their past. If our perception of reality relies on the memories we've accumulated, we have to ask what happens to our reality when that mental database is wiped out. In 1992, a retired lab technician, known in medical literature as EP, contracted a herpes simplex virus. The infection cored through his brain, destroying his hippocampus and permanently deleting his ability to form new memories. Without a functioning memory, EP became trapped in an endless present tense. He could hold a conversation, but if a rogue thought distracted him, his mind would reset. He could not learn, he could not build expertise, and he could not maintain a cohesive narrative about his own family. To understand why, look at French chronobiologist Michel Siffre, who spent 2 months living in a pitch-black subterranean cave. Without the sun or clocks to provide new events to remember, his days blurred together. His perception of time compressed so severely that he thought only a single month had passed. We structure our lives by positioning new events relative to old ones. When we lose the ability to accumulate memories, we lose our context, we lose our expertise, and we lose our very experience of time passing. This is why mental athletes treat memory as a skill to be actively trained, pushing back against that void by intentionally packing their lives with chronological landmarks. Actively committing information to memory, whether through chess matches or memory palaces, deliberately builds a stronger cognitive lens. This practice provides the fundamental mechanism to upgrade the resolution of our lived experience, allowing us to see the signal through the noise.